The funny thing about growing older is that it doesn't mean you have it all figured out. And when I least expect it, life always comes around the corner and gives me a big smack in the face. Like with Ramsey's death. You gotta dance in the rain, he would always say, when things just went wrong again. So why did the death of a guy I barely knew hit me that hard? Ramsey's owned a parking lot on Flagler in downtown for over 25 years. He loved the city, even though he saw its dark sides. He hired homeless people, and he would pay them even though he knew they were also stealing from him. So people in the city knew and liked Ramses. But when I went to his funeral, there were only 4 guys there and nobody else. Is that normal, the way it is? Like everybody always says, lonely people in a lonely world. What does that really mean? My dad was strictly against my wish to become a private investigator. You'll be nothing more than a lousy street bug, he would say, and alone. Well, I didn't mind much about being alone because in most big cities, you hardly know who lives around you anyways. Other than getting stuck in the same traffic or parking in the same parking lot, I wonder if we have anything truly in common. It seems that living in the same city doesn't mean anything to anyone. So many people out there are strangers to each other, even those sleeping in the same bed. So I was happy being alone until I fell in love with a client's spouse. She had a lover who she regularly met, and I would watch them make love through the window. I would have given anything at that moment to be him. I remember for the first time wondering if this was what my dad had warned me about. You were either outside or inside, he said. To him, outsiders were weirdos.
I don't think it's voyeuristic. It's human. Yeah. People like to watch, especially when they think they're seeing something they shouldn't be seeing. Oh, it's mesmerizing. One time, I started early in the morning, around 5, cleaning the windows of a penthouse suite in a hotel that was supposed to be empty. So it turns out they were having an orgy up there with tons of naked women. When I saw that, I stopped. I don't know how long I was hanging out there until they saw me. Well, when they did, they kind of started pulling me into the party. I didn't continue working that day. Stuff like this happens to me all the time. People are crazy in this city.
It's confusing to look into people's lives from outside. That's why it's one of my talents to follow my instinct, even if in the beginning it's not leading me anywhere. But from observing life in this city for more than 30 years, I know that the truth is usually right in front of me. What's important is persistence. I study people until I see the world through their eyes. So many people see the plane, but nobody knows who he is. Am I like that guy up there flying banners across the city all day, every day? Invisible, kind of like me. Where do people like him and me belong to? Where do they go?
What's funny is sometimes I'll sit up there just going around and around in circles looking at where I'm supposed to be, and I think, everybody looks real small from up here, but I bet there's a guy sitting there right now proposing to his girlfriend. I don't know him, and he doesn't know me, and we'll never meet. And yet I'm part of a very personal moment in their life. Basically, it's like if there is really a God, I kind of got me a glimpse into his mansion every day. Just get up in the air, away from everything, and just think by myself. By the time I'm on the ground, it's like I'm a new person.
Whenever I have a big question, I try to look at life from a distance, because only then can I piece things together and put it in perspective. But what about people who are stuck in jobs they hate, not able to see what's right in front of them? Like in the job I once had, as a manager in this big department store, like my dad wanted. I hated it so much. I'm sure that's why I got a lung infection and ended up at the hospital. I remember that day. It changed my life. That's how I met Paulina. An older, elegantly dressed lady wearing a big hat. She came to visit me even though I didn't really know her. But she knew all about me. She told me that she lived across from me and that I reminded her of her son who lives overseas. That's why I was one of her favorite people to watch from her window. She knew more about me than my own mother, only by watching little pieces of my daily life. Amazing how precisely she knew who was right in front of her. No one could bullshit her. So if I had an idol at that time, it was this lovely 82-year-old woman.
Please hold on. The train is approaching 6th Street Station.
During an investigation, I always search for people like her. People who look at life through a window. Like this woman up there. All day sitting there, very little to do. Here and there a bridge opening.
So anywhere I go and they ask me what I do for a living, when I tell them, it's like they want to know everything they could possibly know about it, because everybody is so amazed. They think it's such a great job. You know, how is it hard to operate? You know, they just have a lot of questions. And one of the main ones is how boring the job is, you know. But I tell them all the time, if you have, you know, things that you can do as far as watching TV, listen to the radio, you know, you can stand here for 8 hours and look out the window, you know, you can entertain yourself like that.
People make each other wait all the time without noticing, which drives everybody crazy. But waiting can be pleasurable if you know how. Waiting is a big part of my job. I'm good at it. And over time, I've gotten to the point where I can outwait almost anyone. I don't think it has anything to do with getting older. I just never gave much importance to time. Most people do. And that's why people hate waiting. They're constantly aware of time. So that's what I tell people who ask me what it takes to do my job. You gotta be able to wait hours, days, weeks, sometimes months. I like it. Everybody around me is moving, and often I stand still. I get more out of life this way. I see details nobody else sees, even though they pass by every day. I don't think a lot of people notice that one part of the store sign looks a lot newer than the other one. I think about these things. Maybe the shop was called something else before. Give up? Well, maybe a hurricane took the word away, and they had to replace it with a new one. Who cares? But you see, that's what it takes to be a good detective. Collect moments one by one and make sense of it. I think I got it down pretty much not to let my mind wander off. There is just one big enemy to it. Boredom. And boredom is a lonely place. I remember sitting outside an aquarium store years ago. I could only watch those fish swim around so many times before I had to give them names and make up stories. I read in magazines that daydreaming or escaping into another world is called a disease. Well, whatever. But that's how I pulled myself through this job, without taking my eyes off my target and falling asleep. I wonder how other people deal with that.
One gentleman comes through and tells me a joke. That lightens up my day, no matter how I'm feeling on the inside. I got a smile on the outside. I may be feeling down on the inside. But that joke that he just told me lifted me, gave me something to laugh about. Sometimes you need just that laugh, or sometimes you need just that smile.
Too many raindrops on the road, though. Are they filming you?
No, you. How you doing? Thank you. Have a good day. How you doing? My father always taught me, he said, no matter what goes on in your day, he said, it doesn't hurt to say good morning, good evening, or good night. He said, that's due to anybody. He said, whether they say it to you or not, he said, you always make a day for somebody. Because like I say, if you let that job stress you out and let the people stress you out, you're not doing yourself any good, and you're not good to your job. And I'm not going to let nobody give me no gray hairs that I don't give myself. They didn't give them to me.
I really enjoyed listening to her phone conversations. She had a great humor, and her stories made me laugh. What I remember most about her is that she always wore red shoes. She had them in all different kinds and shapes. So whenever I see a woman wear red shoes, it reminds me of her. It was so strange because even though she didn't know I was there, I felt like we had a bond. When I finally delivered the pictures to her husband, they got divorced. I kept following her around, even though I knew I could never date her honestly. She would have hated me if she ever found out. I had let my job affect my life. My dad had warned me. And for the first time, I felt lonely and scared. The only thing I could think of was how unjust love is, how cruel.
Yeah, I remember the first time I went over the edge. This older guy with me, he said, just go. Relax. Don't look up. Don't look down. Feel the wind and enjoy the moment. Fear is only there if you focus on it. He was right. Since then, I've never been afraid of falling.
I see the whole human circus day by day. Anger, hate, impatience, frustration. But the longer I work here and the closer I look, I start seeing beyond that, and love and happiness appears. I guess it's good sometimes to look at life from a different perspective. Loneliness disappears when I feel how interconnected everything is. The big world, the small me, and my even smaller problem.